Good evening, Legends of Runeterra! Listen,
Hello.
look who it is. It's Kai. It's me. It is a
I've never met you
Thursday.
before.
Listen, we know what happens on Thursdays. It's tournament time. We are so lucky to be in partnership with Community Gaming to be able to host these tournaments. And listen, we're going to get into it because we have a game right now going on. Yeah. We have, as of right now, Croc AI versus SS Danwind. Now, Danwind is currently on Rise, which we haven't seen in a minute, right? Versus Croc AI's Heimerdinger Nora. How do you feel about these two matchups, Kai? Because I feel like Rise has always kind of been known as like the control killer. What?
Yeah.
That's just his hand.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, if you really wanted to make sure you were dealing with a Rise as soon as it touches board, Croc AI has the hand to do exactly that. But like you said, Rise, control killer. And going a little more into the logistics of that, Croc AI is playing that Heimer Nora, this kind of Bandle City. I would say the region color reminds me pretty heavily of Darkness back in the day, because that's what it was. It was Bandle City with the Vagar and Senna when Darkness was at its peak. But also, when Darkness was at its peak, one of its most polarizing matchups was Bandle Tree decks. And the reason why that deck was so strong against it was because Darkness, outside of trying to main deck maybe a Yordle contraption, was never really all that great at removing landmarks. And so when Danwind has the ability to heal up, has the ability to stun your Senna, has the ability to draw cards, refill mana, and eventually work towards this landmark-based win con, Bandle City Shadow Isles, as a region combination, is not that great at handling landmarks, and therefore I think that Danwind does potentially have this in the bag. It all come down to portals, though, in my opinion. And one of those vengeances is found with the prank. Could be getting granted up to an 8-cost vengeance. It'd be very expensive.
Okay. You know, since you have mentioned portals, I feel like I agree with you in that sense. Like, if you really want to try to get this handle a Rise deck as a control deck, and you are running the Nora package, being able to get those portals so you can maybe possibly go 6 wide with some units, just to kind of like, I guess, kind of like take like a little bit of an aggro approach. But even so, I feel like there isn't necessarily a decent way of dealing with Heimerdinger, right? You'll never be able to kill it. The only thing you really would be able to do is recall it, since we do have Homecoming in hand. Not 100% sure if it's worth it. I mean, I guess it is, right? Because you don't want those bots to start coming down, because once those are down, that's going to start becoming really difficult.
Yeah, I think that's where decks like Heimer Jace might be able to do a little bit better into Rise, because you do have the ability to switch into this burn game plan. You have the ability to flood the board with a bunch of techs that also are assisted by the fact that you're playing these 6-mana spells that can get you that elusive bot, which becomes even more of a nuisance to remove if you don't have the right tools for that necessarily. But here's the other vengeance being for Croc.
Okay.
I guess that the reason this is being committed here is because you might want to use a glimpse this turn, and it is going to be used on the Junk Construct to draw 2, get a portal, get another one of those little techs in the hand.
We do have Notify. I'm not sure if we're going to commit that right here, right now. Wouldn't be surprised if we do. Yep, there it goes. And we get an extra blocker. That's really good. We won't be able to block the elusive. We will be able to block any other units. But I feel like the elusive it's a bit scary, right? We don't have any of our runes. The runes are incredibly important, especially Rune of Reverence, which is going to be able to refill our spell mana anytime we play other runes. And I mean, with these units being on 1 HP, we also wouldn't mind the pop quiz. What's the green one called?
It's the Shard of Betrayal.
There we go, Shard of Betrayal, because that deals 2 to a unit, and we can go ahead and knock these out. Even the tough unit, right? Since we're not in Piltover, like you had mentioned with the Heimerdinger Jace, we don't have access to buffs for the techs, right? How they come out is how they are gonna stay.
And no Hex Tech Handler is the main component piece that you're really missing there. And Dan went on that last turn as well, getting a lot of really great mana trades for Croc AI. Croc AI had to preemptively or proactively commit the Vengeance. The Vengeance was then countered by a Homecoming, which is 4 mana. And then the Glimpse Beyond was then used. And then the Notify was there. So Croc AI committed 8 mana worth of spells. Danwind only had to commit 6 and denied 2 pieces of draw that could have gone into another portal. So even though Danwind's down to 10 HP, as soon as any of these shards are found, any of these delves are found specifically, that will start making problems. However, Danwind is having a lot of difficulty finding them, even in between all of this spell draw that they've been able to have. So does Danwind go for the Eye of the Dragon delay, or what do you say?
I don't know, because like we already know, we see that Croc AI is holding up that 8 mana. That 8 mana would be for the Vengeance that we have, and at this rate, we know, okay, the next Rise I play is 1000% going to die. So I either need to play this Rise when I actually have protection, or I just play it, allow it to get some runes in. I think in this sense, in this case right here, you could have either played the Rise. I kind of do like Eye of the Dragon, because now you can start setting yourself up to be able to get the Dragon Links to start healing off of the units that aren't elusive. And even a little bit of healing can go a long way, especially if you're getting some good blocks in. And here we see the Withering Whale get committed, gonna go ahead and take out that Dragon Link. Danwind is going to need another blocker for these bots coming out.
I long for the day.
Okay, Rise.
Rise number 2. They see the 8 mana Vengeance. They don't know that Croc AI actually comes strapped with the
third one
as well.
The third one. We can save Rise though, right? Now I'm wondering, do we? Because this robot, right? Is it always at 0? When it goes back to the hand, does it become 6? I actually haven't seen a bot recalled, I think, ever. Okay, it becomes 6. Yeah, that's what I expected.
Interesting. I mean, there also is Steel Tempest in Danwind's hand for any of the other bots here. Most likely going to be committed for that elusive one that's hit the board now. The Mark 6 floor be gone. I don't know why my brain is actually working today in terms of remembering cards and stuff, but I'm very happy that it is because I feel smart about it.
Let's go.
So Steel Tempest,
all right.
only 1 mana for Croc AI, no Quiet is committed, and actually Danwind's so confident in this hit that they'll go down to 2 HP. There is a Pokey Stick in hand, but in terms of overall burn, because Croc AI is sitting on the Bandle City plan right now and not on the Piltover Zon plan, that does mean that their poke options are a little more limited unless you were trying to go for things like Electro Harpoon, if you went for Pie Toss plus the Perilous Pastry on top of that. I think that Danwind is very correct in it looks greedy for sure, but I think that the play makes sense considering that you're trying to play for the league and trying to heal up a little bit more. But Hibernating is leveled now, so that's a little bit scary, a bit more of a problem now.
I mean, this is insanely scary. Like, if you're in Danwind's position, you have 2 rises, which you kind of don't really want right now, unless we got some lifesteal, but we're not going to be able to swing here. If anything, we're going to swing with the dragon and make sure we get that 2 healing in. We could Pokey Stick it, theoretically, if we really wanted to, but I feel like at that rate, we could also just send it to face.
You're going to hate spike and kill the other life.
Oh, this I like. This constant cycle.
And I liked what you mentioned earlier in terms of Champion Power has to use the Unworthy Soul to deny the kill onto the Tasty Faith Folk there. But I do like what you mentioned earlier, where the recalls, right? It's not hard removal. The units will still stay in the game, and that's what makes this so much more powerful Croc AI. If they are able to stick the Heimerdinger like they have been able to, and if Danwind can't find that win con, which are those delves into the past, which I was talking about earlier, and also running into triple Vengeance, like that's not a hand that you're really expecting. I think that there are a lot of things that went right for Croc AI in this game, and Danwind's at 1 HP. They're facing down their defeat very rapidly here.
Gosh, we're gonna get a game 3. It looks like it. Like at this rate, like in this stage of the game, it's not. Ooh, no way to get out of it. 3 rise. Wow, not what we want to see. Like mind you, we always want to see rise, but 3 of them, not at all. We really wanted to see some of our delves into back. Speaking of them, there's 2.
That's insulting. Has to go for the Unworthy Soul though, to try and recall some of his units on board. But I don't know if you don't have the space. I mean, not that you don't have the space, but you just don't have the ability to stave off enough damage to prevent lethal here. Still taking 3 damage at the end of the day, even after the lifesteal. And Hate Spike could have guaranteed that Overwhelm hit as well by killing off one of the tough units. But regardless of what happened, a little too much pressure and a little too little effort, not effort, but little too little of the component pieces for the rise parts falling in at the end of the match there to give us to game 3.
Yeah, and you normally, like we had mentioned earlier, like you normally see control decks fall the rise because it's like they're too slow to be able to catch up to it. Like Anivia, that's a horrible matchup. You know, I'm pretty sure for your Trundle, even Trundle set, I feel like could potentially be a hard, difficult matchup. Like Feel the Rush comes down, deny. What you're gonna do? Recall everything. You know, but in terms of a deck that can actually like pump out units, not only just pump out units, but pump out units while interacting with you, right? I feel like that's what right there was the key difference. Hey, I'm going to interact with you at the same time, get some free units out of it. Now check this out. Running back the Rise, and Croc AI is currently on Viego Kindred, a deck I have not seen in a minute.
Kindred Viego, I think the reason why we just haven't seen this deck nearly as much in modern iterations is because all of the good cards for Ionia, at least in this archetype, have been rotated out. So you don't have Homecoming, you don't have a lot of those defensive spells, you don't have, well, maybe I'm talking incorrectly here. I think that Kindred Viego is not well situated for the mid-range meta that Standard can be placed in comparatively. I don't know.
Possibly.
That's just
Like I think in my experience playing like a deck like Kindred Viego, I felt like I tended to fall short when it came to like the aggro decks. But mid range, I felt like I could kind of go toe to toe as long as I got I had some units on board and I was able to, you know, get my control options. And Kindred, themselves can really be like pinnacle to it, because if you're able to get Kindred rolling and your opponent just cannot deal with them, you're essentially gonna have to deal with your units dying every single turn, and it just starts whittling away. Now, I think comparatively, like when you've seen Shadow Isles and Ionia with Viego, you normally see it with Thresh, kind of similar to the Thresh Gnosis build that we kind of have going around, because you were able to just pull Viego out. And I mean, you were already gonna have your units die, right? You have things like Invasive Hydrovine, you have Carnivore Soldier, you're getting these Ephemerals out that you're like, okay, yeah, this unit's gonna die, it's gonna progress this Thresh, and I'm gonna keep it pushing. But in this sense, with Kindred, I feel like that really offers a nice little layer of control that also, mind you, goes through Spell Shield. If Kindred marks a Spell Shield unit, they're biting. Like, that's it. You can't do anything about it unless you're going to be able to remove Kindred.
It's really funny that there's a lot of little interactions like that throughout the game that just aren't fully documented.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like Iceville Archer, for example, can go through Spell Shield.
Yes.
But Ash's Flash Freeze, like if you use the burst speed spell, does not.
Mm-hmm.
I think that tech actually saved me multiple times against Rumble Vayne back in the day. I know that deck's still around too. I'm afraid to utter its name.
Now look,
it's kind of like the Furies.
Damn, there's so much damage on board.
It's a lot of damage.
Like, we have the interaction, right? We won't be able to utilize our homecoming since we don't have a unit on board. I'm gonna go ahead and stun this kid. You're gonna take this damage right here, going down to 8. 3 shards is really good in comparative to last game, right? Now we're actually working with something.
Working with something, use the Entreat to draw the Rise. Croc AI very well aware of that unit being on board. And with Kindred on board, it's a little bit of an awkward situation because Rise comes down. Sure, he levels up, has the 3 shards on board. Sure, all that's well and good and all. But did they have the ability to prevent Croc AI from using a Glimpse Beyond, or even Vile Feasting their own unit here? It'll be up to Danwind to nopeify something here.
I like the fact that we ended up going for the Vile Feast, because I feel like if anything, that we don't need the healing given when they're on 20 HP and we value the draw more. So if anything is going to get notified, it should be the Vile Feast. And then we can follow it up with Glimpse Beyond.
Oh, that's smart.
We could have through. We have Entreat. Not too worried. We definitely want to make sure we're getting our lifesteal. At this rate, now we can even swing Revise because, hey, we're dying anyway.
Yeah, might as well. I wonder if the Vile Feast there was also to pull the damage from the Shard of Betrayal, because it was going to initially target the Fading Icon there, but by doing this, you target the Rise and you get the 1/1 Spiderling that gets hit by the spell on Rise's attack, but then the Spiderling's just able to block the damage anyway, so you're taking 0 damage for it. Your opponent's at 8 HP, you have 7 damage worth of units on board. As soon as you play one more unit here, which could very easily be the Viego.
Really?
Oh,
committing the Unworthy Soul to recall Rise. We need blockers.
Yep.
We need blockers. At least one.
Oh boy. Syncopation actually might win the game here for Croc AI.
Potentially, yes. So we have our stun. 1 stun, 1 recall. We're gonna have 2 units to block.
Danwind has to play this very reactively right now because of the syncopation in Croc AI's hand. And the reason I say that is when Croc AI open attacks, Danwind blocks with the Eye of the Dragon. Has to. Absolutely forced to do so. And when a stun comes through, most likely going to be using that Shard of Madness Rune Prison to stun the Viego. The syncopation will make the Viego go to face and then follow up with the Homecoming, and that's where the attack falls apart for Croc AI. So there is a way for Danwind to go through this here, but as soon as they play Rise, if they do get the opportunity to do so, they just lose the game. Or Croc AI develops and this becomes an even more difficult question. However, Scrap Scuttler's in hand, so there is that option as a blocker, but I won't deny that Danwind's position is a little sticky here.
Here's the issue, right? I'm thinking, you might, like, is this a situation where you're going to have to sacrifice one of your runes? Because at this rate, the units are going to start getting too big for the Rune of Betrayal. If you play Otterpuss, you suddenly can't Scrap Scuttler because it's going to get burned. There's 6 spaces taken up on the board. So if you really want to, I guess, block the maximum amount, you would Scrap Scuttler out and then play Otterpuss. But other than that, you might just have to kind of rely on your interaction that you currently have in hand. We can guarantee block 3 things. And then whether or not we recall or stun really depends on how our opponent reacts. That recall is definitely going to be saved, like you said, for after the stun. We're not, I don't see us pre-committing that just yet. We have to see what else is going to come out. Even without syncopation, here we go.
Oh, this is interesting.
Wants to deny the healing. Okay.
There's the swap.
Mm-hmm.
Not only deny the healing, but also increase Viego's size and the size of the Mistwraith over there, because of the Glimpse Beyond. So there's it's a multifaceted hit there. But here's the Homecoming. Below deny mana for Croc. The Glimpse.
Okay. Yeah, this was the exact line that you were talking about earlier. Well, exactly what was going to happen. Ended up not using Scrap Scuttler, which I don't mind, right? Because we might need to play another rune right after the fact. Looks like we're going to commit the Nopify. All right, no draw.
Danwind knows that Croc AI is pretty short on units right now. Has only 4 cards, including the Viego right now. And so giving 2 more cards on top of that Slay stack for Kindred would not exactly be ideal. Kindred does only have 1 mark thanks to the Unworthy Soul that we saw earlier. Now it's more a matter of finding out how to navigate the rest of this endgame. Because I think, honestly, after that open attack, or after that attack, Danwind does start to stabilize slightly here, but Hydrovine's going to make that a very difficult ask.
All right, I mean, the only thing that can block Fearsome in this deck would be the Claws of the Dragon or Rise. We don't have Claws. We have the interaction, though. Are we going to recall this? Yeah. So we've already blown through all our mana. We know a Glimpse Beyond was used last turn, so most likely this is going to go back to hand. Don't really have to worry about 2 mana. The only thing we would have to worry about on Danwind's side would be another Glimpse Beyond onto another unit, where then Kindred targets the Rise again. Holding it, thinking about it.
Hold. Hold.
It's tough. It's tough. We're on 7 HP. And I feel like that kind of is the appeal of like the Rise. Like I know when I was playing it, like the games just felt so close, but then like you get to that point and it's just like, well, I did it. I'm beat and bruised, but I made it all the way to the end. And it's kind of an interesting archetype to play.
Would you say that playing Rise is kind of similar to playing Tetris? You know, you're playing Tetris, you're stacking all your blocks on the screen, but you're waiting for the one long piece to come down, so you can just clear as many blocks as possible, and then you feel like, oh yeah, I'm actually winning this game now. That's what I feel with Rise, you know?
No, you know what? That's a good analogy. I like it. It makes sense.
Run with it then. Rise is not a game of solitaire, it is a game of Tetris. You're playing a different game than LOR for sure, but it looks pretty cool when you do it.
Playing out all our blockers.
I wonder if that Unworthy Soul, aside from, of course, getting a massive threat off the board, but I wonder if that Unworthy Soul was also a bit of a test for Croc AI to see, hey, what other, do you have a counterspell? Do you have another syncopation? Do you have a Glimpse Beyond? Do you have anything else that could potentially threaten me here? And so even though it seems necessary and defensive, the ramifications of that action are very, how would I put it? I want to say proactive, but I don't think proactive is the exact word that I'm looking for.
I get what you're saying, though. I get what you're saying, though. It's like you're testing the waters because you know that you need to make a very particular play, so you do something that could help trigger that.
Yeah, yeah. Whatever word helps succinctly loop all of that together. Let me know in the chat, and I'll be like, oh, of course, 5 minutes later, because there is a delay on the stream.
We got the rune now. That's rune number 4.
We do have rune number 4.
The issue we have this, and then like I feel like this is the part where it's like, okay, now Rise can kind of handle a mid-range deck, right? We're not going 6 wide. We're only 4 wide. There's only one unit that we can't block, which would be the Fearsome, but we can simply stun it.
Correct.
Only taking 3. Mind you, still spooky. Right? Because I know we still have to worry about... Let me actually double check before I say this. We do have... We do not have Atrocity in this deck, so we don't really have an Atrocity game plan. It's really just working for the board and controlling it.
No Atrocity, no Twin Disciplines, I suppose.
Ooh.
A Deny also flying out here. Making sure that Kindred doesn't get those marks. At least not during the stack.
I think right there, if I'm not mistaken, because both of the 1 HP units were going to die at the same time, Rise would have been the one marked.
Oh yeah, that's what it was. I knew there was some extra layer of play going on there. Shard of Island draws into a last delve, and there you go. Croc AI putting out the predetermined, no, premature. There we go. They were putting out the premature GG fist there, believing that their Kindred would have gotten the Rise off the board and they would have won it out. But instead, Croc AI draws into the final shard. And come on, man, let us see the animation. Let us see those PS2 graphics.
Not the PS2 graphics.
Why would you surrender that one?
I mean, shoot, just like you said, we just had to wait until we got that, just got the line. Yep. Boom, and got it.
You're waiting for
that
it.
whole thing. And that's like just Rise X, right? And like that's also been kind of like the frustration within the community surrounding that deck in particular. But I guess you could say any deck that kind of revolves around, hey, you get this one thing achieved, and then boom, you instantly win the game. I'm not sure if those really complaints about Starspring, but I know, right, Vandal City was the thing. Rise has been, I think Fiora at some point may have been incredibly strong, but I think that was like more so in the early days. But here we see like Rise in tournaments versus Rise on ladder. I haven't seen any Rise at all on ladder, but I'm wondering in a format in which, hey, you can look at your opponent's decks and now you can actually ban one, right? If Rise is actually maybe a go-to that we will see in the upcoming Open. You think so? I don't know. Can it face off against some of the stronger decks that are like kind of like running around right now?
It's really hard to say. And I think that's because the list that I've seen potentially going in for lineups, and I'm not going to be leaking any of my teammates' lineups or whatever, if any of them are going to get scouted out, but if I'm going to go off of stats and from what I've seen around, there are a lot of decks like Fiora Galio, Samira Akshan, and those sort of things that just do not care about that single target stun or the single target recall that can continuously apply pressure to a Rise deck to the point where Rise, I don't know, unless it's into some triple control lineup, which can be out there, I don't think Rise gets the ban very often. I think that there are a lot of decks that are well equipped to deal with it right now. And it just so happens that Croc AI, unfortunately, was not piloting one of those decks. They were piloting a late game combo control centric deck more than anything else.
Now, with the deck list that we currently have today, right, we've taken a look at it. The top 3 decks right now are Samira Zoe, Misfortune TF, and Draven Jinx. Kind of, I mean, the Samira Zoe, I guess, can kind of be a little bit aggro, but it does lean into the Targonian package with the call being a card, right? In comparison to deck list 6, right, our last tournament, the top 3 were Jaxfy, Akshan, Samira, and Aphelios Victor. What do you think really shifted that change where instead of, playing these decks that we felt like were really strong and then completely shifting gears and going more so to the aggro side of Runeterra?
Yeah. I think I mentioned this in our pregame chats, where our pregame chats were talking about, oh, hey, aggro players have Decimate back now. And that was one of their largest finisher cards overall for the archetype. And then being able to combine that with, man, I'm not an aggro player, so I'm trying to think of aggro cards, but
I mean, we have, I want to say Decimate, Noxian Forever. I know Pirouette was kind of used in some aggro matchups, right? But I think mostly it's really Decimate and Noxian Forever. And then, I mean, I guess the most important one would be Legion Rearguard. I feel like that was really key and pinnacle to a lot of the aggro decks, right? Being able to have that unit on one, dealing that 3 damage and being able to put that pressure on, along with any of the other cards that you might include, whether it be Legion Saboteur, right? There's some very key 1-drops that you want to be sure to have, and like the less 1-drops you have in your aggro deck, the less likely you are to like really beat down your opponent in a quick fashion. You might have to kind of result into like a kind of I'm kind of doing the thing that I wanted to do rather than do it on turn 2 or 3. I'm doing it on now turn 5 or 6, and now I kind of have to rely on just adding access to my burn, right? Because Decimate deals 4, so 2 Decimates is already 8 damage. That's a lot of burn. That's a lot.
That is a lot
and
of
that's
burn.
not even taken into consideration, right? There are other decks that can burn just as well, right? If you're looking at Draven Jinx that have access to blowback and get excited and Mystic Shot. Now suddenly it's just like, ooh, this is suddenly I can go down to 10 and I'm sweating, right? Shivers, right? Now, I don't know how aggro really is facing on ladder right now. If we're like looking at stats in particular.
Draven Jinx is doing really well on ladder right now.
Is it? I'm not surprised. I feel like that's always been a classic.
It is fast and consistent, and that is something that aggro generally needs. It is faster than Fiora Gallia, which doesn't have a lot of healing, if any. It is faster than Timelines, which is kind of funny because Timelines can high roll you and get a lot of really good stats, but at a certain point, by the time that turn 5, turn 6 comes around, and I'm specifically thinking of the Jack Spy Timelines, but by the time that turns 5 and 6 come around for those things, that's when Draven Jinx is trying to kill you. And when you can't deal with that turn 5-6 combo, or you can't disrupt it early enough, because usually you'll see Timelines pass on 1 and then play Timelines on 2. At that point, you could have a 1 and a 2 drop, or even 3 1-drops if your aggro list is drawing really well. And so there are a lot of decks that Draven Jinx has been doing consistently into, because sometimes there's just too much setup required, or they're too narrow of a deck. I'm thinking back again to Samira Akshan being a deck that I've seen more frequently now. And has a problem.
Yeah, absolutely.
Speaking of the Samira Zoe, and unexpected error occurred.
No, not the error.
Not the error. Okay. Oh,
Code Red. What's your situation?
Riot Games.
Sorry. But speaking of the next match, we do have InMyWhiteRoom and Ace once the Legends of Runeterra servers get it together and we could actually watch the game. But now, Ace is currently on a pile that I have been seeing often, and it seems to be getting talked about, which is this Elise Gnar, right? A deck that is playing a bunch of different, what would you call them? Archetypes? I believe archetypes, and then it kind of results, subtypes, there you go. Playing subtypes so they can get off a big Warden of the Tribes on 8, possibly even into an Atrocity finish. This deck, right? It does, would it be mid-range? Is it combo? I feel like it's more mid-rangey, right? You want to get your board going. It kind of feels like, how Demacia would play Champion Strength.
Yeah, I definitely say it leans more into mid-range. And funny enough, this deck was, from what I've seen, initially created by Peace, who... Oh no, we keep getting unexpected error. It was initially created by Peace and then helped along by Infinite Patrons as well. So there are a lot of really high-profile names that have helped feed into this new archetype, where it is just because of Shadow Isles, you have spiders, and with the help of Elise, you can actually get that a lot quicker now with Warden of the Tribes. And then in Freljord, you have Poros, Yordles, Weapon Masters, because the Combat Cook is considered Demacia and Freljord, all the way up to
Innovative Blacksmith.
Even Blacksmith, yeah. and all the way up to the Warden of the Tribes. So by the time that you have that board fully ready to go, by the time you have the Warden of the Tribes on the board, it's hitting for like +6/+6 on everything. It is an insanely good payoff for what initially was a meme card, but now that it's settled into a proper space, I think this is actually a deck that can contend at a pretty high level very consistently.
Yeah, I would agree with you, because the moment that, like, the way that I've been seeing it on ladder, you can get wardens up to 6 really easily. And like the moment that comes down, it's like, how do you even deal with it, right? I play games where like I have the combo that I need. Like let's say it's, you know, Samira Seraphine, and I can get out my bots, but suddenly it's just like everything has 10 HP. What do I do? I can't swing into anything now. And it's not like that buff goes away. That's a permanent board buff, right? Yeah. Mind you, it's not for the entire deck. So if you are able to deal with the board, then hey, that combo is gone. But at that rate, for a 6-wide board with Warden of the Tribes, you're going to need something like Ruination or Castigate, right? If it's all followers on board. If you don't have any of those two options, you're not running those two regions, you're going to go unless you're able to burn your opponent out.
All right, we're back in the game. Please don't have any more unexpected errors. I would like to be able to watch my Legends of Runeterra.
Exactly.
Because,
now look at this.
You know, that's what we're here for.
Look, we're going to get it. It's turn 9. We have it. Oh, look at that. Right.
+5/+5. Oh, but the
ooh. But even so, okay, we do have blockers for everything. Only taking a casual 10.
It's only half my Nexus health. It's a casual amount of damage that I'm taking here.
From what I was seeing, Kai, because I have the spectator to my right, InMyWhiteRoom was holding on their own, having those. No, I forgot the name of the dang card. Where'd it go?
Oh no!
What is the pony called? Cosmic Youngling. Cosmic Youngling.
Cosmic Youngling, yeah.
But had 2 of them, right? When it was able to kind of like ward off that early game aggression. But now that we've gotten to this point, right?
Which pony? They had a whole show about these. All right.
They had, like, with Invoke, I feel like you need time, right? At some point, you want to get over the call. You want to start getting these big Celestials down. But I feel like around the same time that you're getting your combo off, your opponent's also getting theirs. Because sure, hey, I put down a dragon that is a 10/10 on maybe turn 6, right? Just 2 turns later, I'm suddenly dealing with 10/10s, but there's like 6 of them now. Right? How do you even manage to deal with that? Look, there it goes again.
2 of them actually.
Round 2.
You know, funny enough, Ace is also in this deck is running Harrowing Return, which is a card that I don't think anyone's ever thought of.
I thought that was really interesting.
Came out.
That's
Harrowing Return, for those of you who don't know what it is a 4-mana card that says revive an ephemeral copy of the strongest ally that died this game, and then I think it gives enemies give enemies -1/-0 this round. So not only are they not blocking you nearly as effectively, but let's say you have an Elise on board and your opponent has a 3-attack unit. Now that Elise is massive because it resummons the Warden of the Tribes. If the Warden of the Tribes is the unit to die, and then the Harrowing Return makes it so that you can't block that Elise anymore. So it's a really funny little tech card, kind of similar in vein to the Rekindler, but because your end game combo isn't the Rekindler, it's instead the Warden of the Tribes, this is your follower version of it.
Game 2. All right, so InMyWhiteRoom is going to be running back the Samira Zoe, and Fsh Ace is on a championless Vandal City Piltover. Kai, what do you think this deck is? I feel like it's a mystery to me.
Dude, I have no idea what that card is that's in the center of Fsh Ace's hand right now, but if someone could tell me, please, I would know what this deck is all about. I'm pretty sure.
I don't know. I mean, I hover it. It's blurred out. I don't know what's going on. I think Ryan's hiding it. Ryan's hiding it.
Drawing a blank right now.
But anywho, here it comes down.
What the hell is that doing here? Anyway, timeline's still good. For those of you at home who forgot. This deck is good. I
haven't seen this version in a minute though. I feel like a lot of people have been running the Jax Vi variant, which, you know, is strong, right? You have access to all of the weapon masters that can not only get equipment but become a bigger statted unit with equipment. So it's like, oh, this is really nice. But nonetheless, the Vandal City Piltover variant, you know, tends to run things like Banana Blaster or Risu the Storm, right? You get a nice 5-drop down And then Risu was able to summon the 7-3 with impact. Oh, look at this, a 4-5 elusive.
Wow.
With fearsome, Zoe can't even block it.
Yeah, that's just mean. Like that is what this deck likes to do, and they are just mean. You can find some of the nastiest hits off of this timelines, and it's not fun to run into half the time. Being on the receiving end of this is pretty bad. But the reason why the timelines deck, this version specifically of timelines, was not seen that often is because timelines was buffed when we got Eternal back. And it was buffed so that it cost 1 mana. And that spawned this deck. And from there, this deck became extremely powerful because you could play timelines on 1 and then play a perfect curve of units to then just beat your opponent on turn 5. And once you played that Risu, the Silent Storm and the Storm Cloud that it summons. But then it got nerfed back to 2 mana, and people are like, well, I can't play it on curve anymore, so I guess it's not that good. But really, that's not the truth of the matter at all. Timelines is still very good. I mean, Fsh Ace here is getting the oh boy, this is a card I forget now. But he's getting the Yordle Explorer. Is that? No, it's not Yordle.
Lecturing Yordle.
Lecturing Yordle. I knew Yordle was in there, so I at least get half credit.
That's definitely the beard of a Yordle.
It is. I know Yordles when I see them. And by golly, by gosh, that is a Yordle right there.
Now,
the Lecturing Yordle gives you that ping to face now. So now you're hitting with a 3/5. That was initially a 2/2. That also removed a unit, and now you get the poison darts on attack. It's just good.
Here's something to make note of, right? In this sense, right, Fsh Ace has the chance to swing. We have a 4/5 with Fearsome Elusive and a 3/5. We're anticipating that Zoe is not going to be able to block. Meanwhile, right, we still have to take in consideration Pale Cascade is a card. At least in this line that's going on right now, I feel like what we're going to end up seeing, actually like Mentor of the Stones, if we take that.
Mentor of the Stones is very funny.
Oh, we did. This kind of actually changes what I was about to say. I was going to say, hey, we activate the Invo card, right? We get to see what cards we have, whether it be a Silence. Silence is actually really good. That's actually a banger. We won't be able to take away the Fearsome, but we can take away the Elusive. Can we take away the Elusive? No. Yeah, we can take away the Elusive.
No, you don't take away the... well, oh yeah, no, because it's an Empower effect, so you silence the Empower text.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
I have to really think about that. I can see us issuing a Pale Cascade here. Go ahead and take that out. No mana for Get Excited, but I'm not necessarily sure if we were going to end up exciting this unit anyway. It had Scout, so we still have to worry about a second attack.
Scout being in this weapon pool, I mean, it is a +1/+0 buff, so it's not that big a deal, but Scout being in this weapon pool just still brings me back to the days of Pantheon win conditions, where you play your Pantheon on turn 5 or 6, and oh, I rolled Scout Elusive, I guess I win, because there was logistically nothing that could deal with it all that well. And so if, in this deck specifically, being able to get a weapon master that can then turn into the Winged Messenger or any other kind of elusive, finding the Scout weapon off of a weapon master changes the game entirely. That can potentially be what's happening here, but White Room, not a lot of options left.
At all. Like, at this rate, all we really have is to be able to Pale Cascade Zoe to block a unit, right? What's Zoe at? Zoe is currently at 7 out of 10.
8, 9.
And now we're completely locked out of that option. We have 0 mana.
Oh, that's an interesting play. Well, I mean, you could play Moonsilver into Flare, but then you're going to be 1 off of leveling the Zoe anyway. So I think that might
Is it
be
1
the
off?
plan.
Yeah, we are. We're 1 off.
Exactly 1 off.
Darn.
Ace is just going for as much damage as possible, forcing the block off of White Room Zoe. Zoe actually goes for the Mentor of the Stones, and it'll be Samira to take the hit off 2/1, taking 8 damage.
I like that, right? Zoe is already going to be able to level up, and with Zoe's level up, you can start possibly getting some really good keywords onto all the units that are played. Not sure if we have the time though, right? We may be able to use Sunburst to take out this unit, but at that rate, that's almost our entire turn.
That is the entire turn, actually. And you don't even have the ability to silence it because... Well, no, the silence... Yeah, the silence would kill it because that buff is from the Mentor of the Stones. But WhiteRoom more worried about trying to level the Zoe here. Might even go for an Overwhelm.
Ooh,
Eventually.
and we have Reese to enhance too. Okay.
Ace is trying to find out a way to navigate this hand. Could even potentially just be a Moonsilver into Flare, level the Zoe, and go for the swing. Try and get a Behold the Infinite to look for something as well. That entire interaction would actually cost you 0 mana, but it's not even going to be played.
The call is here, but I think it's just a little too late. At this rate, look at this. Blooming Blade, Rimfang. Decided to go for the Rampaging Bakai for that nice Overwhelm.
Ouch.
What do we even do here? I mean, we have Sunburst to remove 1 unit. And that's about it. We can play a unit. Because like, I think something to worry about is now we are on 6. This is Piltover, right? We do have to worry about the fact that we're going to have to deal with burn. Ends up going for the Rampaging Bakai.
I think WhiteRoom's confident enough to flip the Zoe here at burst speed to block what they need to, and they'll go down to 1 HP, but that is a very awkward situation to put yourself in. Do you ever... No.
It's a tough... Like, right now it's tough. We're just too low against Piltover. We can see on... Like, Ace has a Get Excited... Not only a Get Excited, a Electro Harpoon, and a Mystic Shot, right? At this rate, it just seems like this deck was a little bit too fast for the Invoke list.
Yeah. And this is exactly what I'm worried about for people who might be considering bringing triple Invoke to the Open, is that Timelines is still out there and it's still good. Mystic Shot is going to be the one committed. Don't need to be messing around with discarding an extra card when you can just shoot them in the face for 2 damage anyway. Yeah, that is exactly what Timelines does, and one of the reasons why Invoke is... It has its weaknesses. Invoke can do some crazy things. We saw that last week, but it does not always get the space to do so, and that is one of the decks that is pretty good at making sure that it's always off its footing.
Yeah. Now, with the healing that Targon now has access to, given that we're in Eternal, is the healing really enough for like the burn and the aggro that we have? Like maybe it is getting Cosmic Youngling out on field that can maybe potentially stabilize the game, right? The first game was stabilized with 2 Cosmic Younglings, but nonetheless, right, we ended up dying to our opponent because they just had the units to be able to keep pushing damage, right? At that rate, if all you're doing is spending time stalling, you're not spending the mana needed for your win con, right? Because that whole 8 mana to play the call is literally an entire turn. You have to give up a whole turn, especially not just any turn, but what? I think the earliest is 5, 6, 7, 8. What, on turn 5, right? No, 5.
Yeah, turn 5.
Because
you have 5. 3 mana banked.
And there's a lot going on turn 5. And aggro deck is reaching its end goal on turn 5 if it's, gotten a really good hand. Mid range is starting to pick up the pace. So if you're spending that whole turn there, and now suddenly your opponent is playing, a bunch of units and like, I can't really interact with these. And then not only that, the removal that you do have in Targon is slow speed, right? There's nothing you can really do with fast interaction or burst interaction aside from maybe Hush, right? If something is buffed to infinity and you're like, hey, this is really buffed, I'm just going to Hush it. Boom, it's gone. Temporarily, mind you. But other than that, all we have is our Obliterates. Sunburst is slow. I mean, even the Comet is another slow speed spell. And it has a requirement attached to it. You either need to stun something or you need it to attack.
I think the only saving grace in that regard is Celestial Wonder. The 5 mana fast speed stun 2 units if you want to try and prevent damage from going through. I've looked at stats. I know there's a little bit of a surprising thing about me. I look at stats, but in case you didn't know. And one of the things that I did notice frequently was that a lot of these Invoke decks are beating decks that are designed entirely around burn or entirely around playing like a front-loaded aggro. But as soon as you have something like let's say again, timelines, it's just the freshest in my mind, so I'm going to use that as an example.
Yeah.
Something that has this, I want to play a specific series of cards to be this really unfair mid-range list that also has burn over top of it. That's where your invoke lists don't do quite as well, because not only do they have to deal with the pressure that you're putting on in terms of overhead burn that you can use to finish a game, you're also having to worry about, oh, that's a 4/5 with fearsome and elusive on my board now. That can also continually grow depending on what my opponent rolls. And in that last match for Ace, they rolled the Mentor of the Stones and made it a 6/7 with fearsome elusive. So
such a good hit.
That's where Invoke, I feel Invoke is, again, another Bandle Tree kind of matchup where you're very polarizing on whether you can find Cosmic Call and whether you're allowed to play it. If you can play Cosmic Call and you're allowed to play it, Invoke does great. But if you can't,
absolutely,
it slows up so significantly.
So much, it really does. Like, and like, this is the kind of matchup we were just talking about, right? An aggro deck versus the Targonian deck, right? We have some early game units. I think what's really important is having Samira. If you're able to get Samira on 2 with that bank mana, you're going to be able to challenge something. Lao's hand does have both champions, but no other units aside from the Legion Saboteur.
Yeah. And that's what Samir's also been really good for against these aggro matchups, is a lot of these are 1 HP units we can see with the Legion Saboteur there. I mean, Lot taking 5 damage on turn 2. Hey, there's a little bit of a reverse little rolls here going on.
Apparently.
But Samira's really good at hitting board, remove the unit. Gaily, also known as New Life, is playing Starry Scamp, which is now a 0 mana 2/2. So
I think that's a really good card here.
Yes, you have your anti-aggro tools. You have ways of handling what aggro can throw at you, and that's why I think that sometimes Invoke can win against these aggro matchups. It just really depends on how Lot plays the rest of this game. Fallen Star is also just a brutal hit. Lot will have to burn the axe onto the survival skills to keep the Draven alive, but now they'll be taking 5 damage again.
Right, because if like, I'm wondering, would it have been wiser to save the Fallen Star for a Jinx? Like, how important is Draven in this particular matchup? I mean, I sometimes feel like he's an engine with the axe, right? Because you can start discarding cards that are incredibly important. I do know we do want to get Jinx down ASAP.
Yeah, getting Jinx down as soon as physically possible is good. Removing Draven, though, removes their ability to have great discard fodder. So you don't have to worry about that 3-attack unit on the following turn. You don't have to worry about your opponent now getting axes that they can use to discard other things like the Flame Choppers we see in hand, like the, Reborn Grenadiers, that's now being found too. If Draven was removed and if that axe was committed earlier, then Gaily doesn't have to worry about that nearly as much. But instead, taking 4 damage for their troubles, losing the Draven, and out of plays for now. Still able to burst speed level Jinx, though.
Yeah, I was like, I don't even think we're worried as Lao, right? We play the Jinx, we burst speed level, we even have a second Draven. I feel like that kind of complicates things, because now we don't really want that. But I mean, if anything... Can we play Jinx?
Discard, right?
I mean, Double Axe does it. We won't be able to get the Jinx down this time, but...
Yeah.
Moonsilver, Silence, Trickster. Who went for Moonsilver? Okay.
Moonsilver is just the faster option off of that. Gaily does still have the ability to play Giddy Sparkleologist, so it'll have to be a double axe committed onto the Flame Chompers here to make sure that they can remove the Zoe right away. But now, do you consider Zoe more of a threat, or do you consider that Samira a threat? Because either one of them can really start to pose problems here.
It's true. Like, I feel like like as of late, I've been seeing Zoe's level up fairly quickly, or like people just simply ignoring Zoe. Cause like it's weird, right? Because there are the decks that Zoe is played in have other threats that are like, hey, that it looks more like of a threat, like up front, like the moment a Samira comes down, we know how powerful a Samira can be, right? We kind of want to get that champion off the field as soon as possible. But for Zoe, like she kind of sits there, she's a 1/1. People are like, oh, sometimes you might be able to get her later, and then other times it just simply catches up to you, and you're like, okay, hey, this Zoe is now level, this permanent is now a permanent effect on the Nexus, and now I have to suddenly start dealing with the Evoke coming through. And here we're getting the double level of both Zoe and Samira.
Yeah, that's scary.
It's
a lot
already...
of those cost bursts over being pretty instrumental in that too.
Like, New Life only has 2 cards, right? If you're playing as Lao and you're looking into the situation, like, okay, I do have to deal with both these champions. It's going to be their attack token. I'm probably most likely going to be losing my Draven. And like on turn 5, you kind of really want to start getting your opponent down to like, I want to say around 6.
They whipped Allegiance.
Wow. Hold up, what is in this deck? Is it only Samira, right?
It's Samira and
just Samira.
Usually one other thing. Oh, it is just
it's just Samira. This is Samira on the top deck.
That is tragic. That is tragic.
It happens. The curse of allegiance. Oh, that force really good.
You know, if you
damage.
If you're really drunk, or you if you like squint gaily, you could rearrange the letters and add a couple more in there to be grappler. So I think that's what happened there.
Crazy.
Is that like crazy, right? Crazy little coincidence going on there. Missing elusive. But the reason why I said earlier that the Flame Chompers could have gone to kill Zoe with the double axe. The reason why that is stupid is because Gailey still had mana available to play Pale Cascade earlier. Now, they didn't have it in hand at the time, but Lot had no way of telling, and by losing that, they lose the blocker, and that's just going to be game. So again, there is the possibility for these Invoke decks to get the value early that they need, along with the blockers and everything, to beat out decks that are more burn focused, and that is the result that I was expecting on paper at the end of the day.
It makes sense. No, it makes sense, right? Either A, you have access to healing, or B, if you're playing something like Samira Zoe, you have those units, right? That you can just simply play and like, okay, these are getting blocked. And if your opponent doesn't really have a way to deal with Samira or Zoe, they just take over the game. And I feel like especially with Samira, right? Samira really is what I think offers just such strength to a deck, right? The moment that you're not only are you able to trade into not trade into something, take a favorable trade, right? Because Samira challenges something, if they don't have enough HP or they just simply can't interact with it with spells, hey, that unit, boom, gone. And you keep her on the board for long enough, Samira's just taking over the game. Let me tell you, the amount of times that Samira has, and like I used to sleep on her. I was like, I don't really know if I want to include her in my Noxus decks. I don't know if it's really the vibe I'm going for. But the moment you throw her in and you're suddenly able to level her up and just start going and going and going, I'm just like, yo, this champion. Why am I rallying for a 3rd time right now? Who allowed this?
Yeah,
it's just insane. It offers a nice level of versatility, whether it be, hey, it even contributes to a burn game plan, right? Because at some point, if you level her up, or even if you don't level up, you just get, sometimes those pings really matter. Like in that sense right there, even let's say for some reason the Samira had died, we just play second one and now we have another ping to face and our opponent's already on 2.
Yep.
It adds up. It adds up. It's strong. It's strong. And I wonder if that deck in particular favors more into aggro because of the champion that's running along with the other units compared to the other Invoke lists. Because I know there's, Victor. I feel like Victor's a really good one, but I feel like Victor is also another one of those champions that's kind of similar to Pantheon in the sense, right, the keywords you roll matter. And that suddenly, let's say we get regeneration, okay, infinite blocking against aggro, or if we even get lifesteal, okay, I'll just reset the game. What are you gonna do about it? You don't have enough damage to deal with this, Victor. It can be really powerful.
Yeah, it really can be. And Samira herself You saw the effectiveness of it in Samira Fizz, which was more of a aggro combo deck. You saw it in Leona Samira for a little bit because you could give Challenger to whatever unit with Flare until that was nerfed. There was a Samira Pantheon that was going around for a while. We're now seeing we see this Samira Seraphine list, and that list entirely hinges on being able to play a bunch of cheap cost spells to get these big 5/5 quick attack units on board, previously 6/6 quick attack units on board, and then eventually rally multiple times if you cannot deal with the board. And so Samira, I like as a champion because of the fact that she is so flexible. I think the only thing that you don't really see Samira in are in control lists, but control's been kind of I would say a dead topic for a while, at least for this Eternal meta right now, because there are things that are happening far too quickly for them to be able to handle it. We even saw it earlier. We saw the Kindred Viego deck not do very well into the Rise deck, right? Like that's something you just simply cannot handle. So control's not situated well, but if it was, there might be a Samira control deck out there somewhere.
I mean, I think the only Samira control that I have been seeing, or at least I saw it for a little bit, was Samira Broadmain. I think Samira Annie was a thing for a little bit. I don't know how good it was.
Yeah, but we have Katarina back now. So.
Yeah, it's like we got Katarina back. Who's Katarina? I mean, I know I've been just seeing Annie Ezreal not even running either Samira or Katarina. But hey, you know, I think I would really like I like not aggro, excuse me. I like control. I would like to see some more control support come out. I mean, is there a good control deck at all? Is the Invoke list kind of control-y? I mean, it has control cards in it, but I don't know if it really like sticks to that archetype. It doesn't really feel like it.
Nah, I don't consider it to be a control list because you're not using your spell mana or your unit mana to try and hold the board down for an explosive late game finisher. What you're trying to do is find one very specific card. You're looking for your cosmic calls, you're looking for maybe the Fangs is like your delay card. But really I don't consider it to be all that much of a control list in that regard. So I think it's just stronger than that. Speaking of Samira.
Okay. Where's Zoe versus Rise? Queen blocks, okay.
Samira with Spell Shield is going to be very difficult for Rise to deal with. Ooh. Well, the timer is short, but so is the Rise player. Wait, no, short-lived. I meant to say short-lived, but I have no idea about their actual height and I just realized I insulted them by accident.
Not the
timer is short, and so is that person playing Rise. You probably use a step stool to get to your dinner table. Like, I don't know. I'm not gonna.
Please.
No reason. No.
I'm not sure what game that was. I think that was maybe possibly game 2.
That looked like it. The timer was pretty low down there. Samira Zoe being another representative of that list, of that matchup that we're seeing quite frequently, and Rise as well being something that I was not entirely expecting to see back in the meta, but
it wasn't either.
You know, it worked out. That'll be GeoElHelo going out. Had the Aphelios Zoe, which I believe is the Shadow Isles variant usually, and Karma set. No, that's not right.
With
Aphelios Victor and Samira Zoe. So also going for an Invoke package, and then having Rise sandwich in between those two. So, you know, it was not a lot to speak about. It was definitely a result. I think the interactivity of Samira Zoe compared to Rise. Again, Rise really likes playing into those lists that have singular units going on board, that they can identify one threat and deal with it as efficiently as possible. And when they're not able to do that, in the case of Samira Zoe with Invoke, that's where things start to get away from them. And that's what we saw there. So, I don't know. Not a whole lot. We saw like 30 seconds of it, maybe.
30 seconds. We're like, all right.
Yeah.
Well, this game is just over.
Have you ever watched Avatar: The Last Airbender?
Yes.
So you remember that in season 3, I think it was, where Sokka gets the sword master mentor? And so he goes there, and then there's this scene where his mentor's trying to get him to learn all these different things about self-control and stuff. And so one of them is he takes him out to this beautiful view of a mountain valley, and he shows it to Sokka for 10 seconds, and then turns Sokka around and says, "All right, now draw it, right? Like draw what you saw." And that's exactly what it made me think of there, where it's like, here's the result. You get 10 seconds of it. Now tell me exactly what you saw.
Tell us everything.
I don't know. There's not a whole lot going on there for me. I'm sorry to say.
One player won, one player lost. There was some units played, and I saw a victory screen. That's about it.
There was like 6 minutes left in the timers for both players as well. So I think it was like pretty heavy control or invoke games. There must have been some great back and forth there that we missed, unfortunately. I'd like to know the whole story.
The price we pay for watching a different match. But nonetheless, all the matches we're watching are good. Now,
yeah.
What do you anticipate that there's gonna be like one deck that is guaranteed you have to bring it if you're gonna be creating a line? Is there one? Like, is it invoke? At least bring at least one invoke deck? I don't really know.
It depends. I think
because Jax Vi also seems like a strong contender.
Right, and that's the issue that I have with it, right? Like I'm seeing Jax Vi pop up. I see a couple of Nasus Thresh here as well, being played for this tournament. So it's I don't want to go out and recommend that you bring triple invoke because of these lists that are available. Oh, hey, Thresh Nasus into invoke, by the way. Gaily against Ace. But I'm worried about saying something definite because I can't really recommend that you bring invoke into timelines because that's just not that does not end well ever.
We've already seen it. Now, I mean, what are your thoughts on this matchup in particular? Because I feel like the Nasus Thresh, at least last Eternal season, was incredibly popular, if not the most popular deck that was played, right? Especially the Volts variation. And now that we have these invoke lists, like, is Nasus Thresh able to contend with some of these other decks that we have going on? I feel like it can. Like, it's won an open. Not open, but it's won a tournament recently.
Yeah, it won. I think Ace is actually the one who won the Mastering Runeterra Open earlier today or yesterday, bringing also Nasus Thresh champ list timelines. I think they were bringing an aggro deck as their third one, so I don't believe that this is the same lineup, at least Gnar being the new addition for them. But no, I think the reason why Nasus Thresh was so well regarded was because Nasus Thresh is a very consistent and a very easy list to work with. And the combos are nuts, things like this. You play Darkened Halberd onto the Cursed Keeper, get that Escaped Abomination of 4/3 with the Bakai Reaper on board, and now you're swinging for 8 damage to face. New I keep reading the name New Life, and it's like, no, that's Gaily. Read it as Gaily.
It's New Life.
It is New Life.
Oh, I like this. I was just thinking about that. Like, we already know that we have our Bakai Reaper as a 4 HP unit. If they're going to play their charge, we might as well Vile Feast to here, go for the swing here. We're not going to swing with the Spider because we know that can get traded in. We want to make sure we're getting positive trades.
Whew. That's a lot of damage to take.
It's the Falling Stall, though. I think it was worth it, though. I think it was worth it. We might be losing this unit, but getting our opponent down to 13 is really good.
I mean, really, if you want to mince words, or if you really want to be specific or nitpicky about the mana that Fsh Ace used there, they used 2 mana for Vile Feast, they used 1 mana for the Darkened Halberd, and then they used 1 mana for the Bakai Reaper. For 4 mana, they dealt 6 damage to Gaily's face. That is a reverse decimate. That instead of 6 mana for 4, you're doing 4 mana for 6. And that's a really good trade overall. losing out to the Fallen Star after the combat has been committed is by no means a loss on Ace's side. I think that's a really good hit and a really good set of momentum for them to be going for in the next couple of rounds.
I really like the fact that New Life had picked up on. I mean, I guess we didn't pick up on it. Star Peak kind of just gives you 2 cards at random, but we got an Equinox. That's gonna be really good for when Zolani eventually comes down, so that we're gonna be able to stop that cycle, as well as get rid of that overwhelm unit. Ooh, Serpent.
That's gonna be brutal.
Like, now with Thresh on the board, this has suddenly become tricky, right? We don't want to feed the Thresh level up, resulting in Nasus coming through. But we gotta do things. Ooh, Great Beyond, Messenger, Moonglow. Don't need another Spell Shield. I can see either the Messenger or the Great Beyond. Great Beyond.
Great Beyond it is. Darkened Halberd's gonna go down. Thresh, we then get the Darkened Bloodletters back in the hand. The Darkened Bloodletters goes on to the Dark Enthrall here. Now it's a 4/3, and you have a
we're silencing this now?
Gigantic Thresh. The silence is definitely a consideration, but I'm just loving the combos that Ace is able to pull off here. Getting 5 towards Thresh's level up as well. There isn't a Sunburst in Gailey's hand, so that 6 HP
level up.
is...
We have level up.
Oh, it is a level up. Oh, right, because we killed one earlier. I forgot about that. We killed the Spiderling to give Thresh the Darkened Halberd, so that's a level up.
Wow, one turn level up.
The 1-turn level up for Thresh is insane.
I haven't counted the slays because they've come and gone so quickly, but I think Nasus should be at like 8 or 9 right now.
I think you're right. I think you said 9/9. Considering everything we've seen so far.
See, here's the thing, because we didn't get the call, our Celestials aren't discounted that much just yet. So we need time. I mean, we have the Fearsome Blocker for Nasus. It's not the worst thing ever. We're gonna do Bloodletters onto or draw potentially.
I think it's a Spirit Leech.
Even the box, we could also box if we wanted to. Yeah, I guess we don't need to.
Yeah, you could.
Double Deny, another Thresh.
That's triple Thresh now. I don't think that box is a main deck. I believe that is another copy of Thresh there.
Yeah. Hate Spike, okay.
Hate Spike is such a good card for this archetype, by the way. Oh my gosh,
it's very good.
That card is ridiculously good.
Here we go. What's Nasus at?
What's in the box? It's a 10/10.
Ooh.
Oh, 11. Never mind. Oh, I forgot Nasus got buffed.
That's lethal right now. We have to block.
Do not stray.
You can take 4 if we didn't want to preserve any HP, which I think we do need to. Like I don't think we really have a choice because the Mountain Scryer is what's discounting the Great Beyond right now. If we can get 2 Great Beyonds down, I think that would potentially be game.
No, what's crazy as well is that Ace does have Atrocity in this deck, and Nasus on the level up has Spell Shield. So there has to be something that is able to be committed onto the Nasus for Gailey. In order for him to make sure that this Nasus doesn't have that open access to using Atrocity for lethal. But that simply a matter of time now.
Alright, here's number 1. Can we get number 2 down next turn? Do we have time? I mean, the issue here is, we could use Giddy Sparkologist to buff the Mountain Scryer to bring it back up to 3 damage. But at this rate, that's going to have to be next turn, and we already know our opponent's going to be going for an open swing guaranteed.
I think Gailey has adopted the mentality of Atrocity isn't real, and I gotta say I admire them for that.
I mean, at this rate, I don't think we can. It's just like, if they got it, they got it. We're running Targon and Noxus. We have no deny whatsoever. I mean, I guess technically speaking, if we had strike cards, but we don't.
Here, you're not running Brutal Skirmish in this list. Brutal Skirmish
guess,
is a really underrated card. I think people.
I think it is too. The single combat destroying equipment.
Yep, that's the one.
Like, I guess the good thing right here is that New Life now understands, okay, I played my unit, I went below double hush, theoretically.
Ooh.
Atrocity did not come out. First deny.
Oh no, deny makes sense here. I was thinking, oh, Hate Spike can kill a unit, you get the Bloodletters back, but just keep the Savage Zone with Overwhelm on board. Like, there's really no harm in that.
Absolutely.
I think the only thing that saves Gaily is a Targonian Tellstones with a Hush, combined with a Pale Cascade to get the Mountain Scryer buffed. Because you'll have to Hush the... Hold on.
Game.
Something's... No, okay, no, that's game. that's it.
It's just the fearsome. It's the fact that Gnosis is leveled up, right? Because meanwhile, we had a fearsome block on board. It's just the fact that upon level up, Gnosis is reducing all the damage of all units by 1, and we didn't really have anything to buff it, right? A Targonian Tellstones would have worked, whether or not we wanted to buff a unit and or we just wanted to use Hush. But with the leveled up Gnosis with Spell Shield, we need double Hush, so it's a very specific hand you need. And then not only that, we would have needed, I guess, a Pale Cascade would have worked. Maybe some healing, but even so, Gnosis had just gotten so big, and now that you have a Solani as a 7/7, on board, it's like, okay, my units aren't really big enough. Some more damage is gonna be coming through. It was a lot. That level up with Thresh on turn 5 was really good.
Yeah, I think that is what the kids refer to as hitting the nuts. And by golly, did Ace hit the cashews on that one? Cashews. Absolutely.
The cashews
destroyed it there. I don't know why. I can't wait. I can't see Gaily's hand. Are we missing Gaily's hand right now? No, we should have it. Oh, there it is. Okay, there you go. Thank you. I was wondering. I didn't see it at the end of the game. I was wondering if we had lost connection to one of our scenes there for a second, but now we have the hand available. And in hand for Gaily is that Cosmic Call. So we'll be able to answer this question.
Really? Didn't play timelines.
I wonder why.
Interesting.
Maybe hoping to play timelines into exactly the Piltover Castaway this turn.
Potentially. At this rate, if you were going to keep that, you could have also had mana for both the Perilous Pastry and the Mystic Shot in case the Samira and the Zoe were going to come down.
Paint is just accidental art.
And in this case, we're just going to have to deal with Samira. We can go ahead and Mystic Shot her. Our opponent does have 2 mana, though, so we have to keep in mind, hey, the Procrastinate is the thing. But no any longer. We have played the Flare. We commit? We do not without a hit.
You don't... And I think Ace doesn't want to spend the mana on the Mystic Shot because they want to develop Piltover Castaway here instead. Scout Weapon is picked. What's the unit? You have D-Android? Oh boy. Oh boy.
Okay. I mean, we can get that up to 3.
Little miniature Pantheon going on there.
Double Mystic Shot. Here comes the Banana Blaster. Ooh, the Cloven Way.
Okay, but you're not seeing Funsmith.
Yeah, I was gonna say, Funsmith looks kind of juicy here. Funsmith can do a thing or two. What did we go with? Cloven Way. Okay, I understand.
You coward! You had one job! No, I'm kidding. That was...
Funsmith would have been juicy. It would have been really good.
Funsmith actually would have buffed the hit for 3 because it affects all spells and skills. But I think that in interest of playing around there possibly being a double Pale Cascade, because we did play the Mountain Scryer this turn.
That's so
it was
much
just
damage
the safe one with the Cloven Way. That is a lot of damage to take, though.
But meanwhile, the sisters are here. 4/3 with Lifesteal, 4/3 elusive. We can finally block this elusive scout unit.
A little bit of that.
Okay. Commit the Mystic Shot in the Perilous Pastry. I like it. You don't want your opponent to get healing. You already have them on 12. Meanwhile, I think we are gonna end up having to lose our elusive, which is unfortunate. Oh.
Well, that's interesting. But I wonder if Ace is okay with that now. If Gaily swings with Zoe on this turn, And Ace can choose to block the Zoe, take damage from the other units.
Another elusive.
Oh, and another elusive. So actually, we can just evenly trade everything. It doesn't even matter now. Yeah. So if Gailey swings with Zoe there, and also swings with the Silver Sister, Ace can block Zoe and then attack into the Silver Sister. So you've just hit for 4 damage, sure, but you've lost a champion and you lost one of your important blockers. I hate this card. I'm not going to sugarcoat it.
Which one?
Well, I guess it's the effective timelines, but I really doubled down on not liking the fan club president. That card is, wow. I'm seeing red. You gotta hold me back.
Not the holding you back. Oh, Wrathful Rider!
You know what would make Wrathful Rider even better is if they added another point of attack. That's what's gonna make that card
No,
good.
because this card being an A3 is ridiculous. Why?
It's just kind of
Who asked for this? Yeah, there we go. Gonna commit the Zoe stun. Sleepy Bubble Trouble. Because that's some damage we cannot take.
Yep. Some damage you can't take. The Wrathful Rider, the most important thing about it, despite my sarcasm, is the fact that it does have Challenger. You could pull that Silver Sister out of the way, kill it, and also get this swing in with the Scout for the Neandroid. Well, actually, no, the Scout wouldn't be going through, but you still get the attack in. And Gailey very happy to have the elusive and the lifesteal there earlier, although it was removed. But that means the removal of that unit also means that that's less burn pointed at face. So that's one good thing going for Gailey right now, even though they are at 12 HP and soon to lose a bit more. No, actually just losing the board. Does not care about the current status of their board. They just need to keep their HP as intact as possible.
We have to. Absolutely. Like, we are playing against a deck that has the potential to have burn in it. I think Fsh Ace is currently running... Double check real quick. I want to say that we have the Mystic Shot. We also have Get Excited at the 3-0, Pokey Stick, Electro Harpoon, and Pie Toss. Like, there's burn in this deck. We can do a little bit of burning.
I think just to get that late game, you play the early game unfairly, you beat somebody up with all your big stats and stuff, and then by the time they're able to get their stuff online,
what is that?
Oh, you burn them. Oh, you ever heard of Iris? Aris?
Aris, who are you?
It's a card that was released with this variety patch, but hasn't seen a lot of play. And that's just...
I mean, if there was a role we were going to get, it's this one. And it's some of the Husk on Extra Strike?
Yeah. It's good for this situation specifically. It is not good in its own deck because it is a 1/1 elusive for 2 mana. And I don't know about you, but there are a lot of 1 damage pings. In fact, there are even challenger units that can easily get 1 attack that can remove stuff quite easily.
Would we?
Just...
No, probably not. We probably would keep this equipment on it because it's now a 4/3 with elusive compared to putting the Scout equipment and getting 2 hits in. Okay.
We also didn't comment on it, but Gailey did manage to play Cosmic Call and got a Supernova off of it. So they are able to control the board a little bit more now. Meanwhile, Loping Telescope is in Ace's hand. The bane of the bane of many people's existence back in the day. The yee.
Not the yee.
That's the sound it makes. I don't know what to tell you.
Look at this, putting our opponent on...
Oh, hey.
Oof.
They're dead. Lamau.
Yeah. It's just so much pressure, right? Because, like, sure, like... And I think what I really liked about Ace's play here, right? We had the opportunity to develop if we really, really wanted to, but there's just no need. You know you're versus Targon. All of their control options are slow speed. Go ahead and go for that nice open swing, and you're going to get a good hit in, especially with no blockers on field.
The fact that Ace was able to roll 2 elusives this game is also kind of insane, but this does go to show the power of...
That's number 3.
Yeah, there's... Oh, hey, there's number 3. Yeah, Knuckle and case you missed it, but I wonder if Ace is worried about there being a star shaping because Gaily is sitting on exact enough mana for it, but gonna force them to have it now. And the answer is no, I do not have it. In fact, I have the age-old technique of top right, bottom left. God. And there we go. That's timelines. Winning again. Who would have known?
Yeah, can't even say anything to it. It's just timelines. And meanwhile, even not having access to the to Jack specifically, we still have access to equipment. Decent access to equipment. We're a-okay. We can still get these units that are being able to transform and still have some extra buffs. And then in terms of some control decks, like having to deal with equipment, right? It's stats that you never get to remove out of the game unless you have some kind of equipment removal, right? Suddenly, hey, I killed this unit that had this. I'm gonna put it on another unit. Now you got to deal with it again. What you gonna do? It's tough, and we kind of really saw that right there, right? We had the pieces that we needed for New Life, but we just didn't have the time to play anything at all. We had to just continually focus on, hey, I need to play units to block. I have to remove what I got to remove. We even managed to play the call. We managed it. We did it. We had a whole 5-mana supernova that we could have used to obliterate everything. It's just, when do you get the chance to play it? If your opponent just abuses the fact that, hey, everything's slow, let me just go ahead and swing right in, or they just put so much pressure on you, you can't really do anything. It's like, damn, I'm just kind of like playing on the back foot. So I feel like that in itself really showcases, like you were saying, hey, be very mindful when you're bringing these, maybe triple Targonian lineups, right? Timelines is popular. It's always been popular. And there's 2 strong decks for it right now, right? The old school one that is running the champion list. And then the current one that everyone's really liking is to buy Jax, which can really pop off.
Oh yeah, I've popped off on ladder with that one a couple of times myself, and it's felt so rude every single time. I don't know how else to put it. Timeline's good deck, and I think we're running into double invokes, so GeoElHelo.
I mean, double invokes. We're in this game. We are
turn 9.
8/3 destroyer with spell shield. Victor's. This is I think maybe this Victor's been on the field for 2 turns.
What happened here?
A lot's happened. We still have mana for Living Legend.
That's really funny, actually. Having enough mana for Living Legends, refilling the hand, refilling the mana, getting all of these reduced cost Celestials, because both players have been able to play Cosmic Call. Starlit Epiphanies in GeoElHelo's hand, too. That's a surprise tool that will help us later. Messenger
what do you even do in this position? Both players have subworks. Like, that's the funny thing.
That's really funny. Oh, that's
alright.
wild.
Going for the stun. I like this.
Taking out the elusive unit is really good. But there is Hush in Geo's hand, so possible that this doesn't go through.
Oh, we committed Starlit Epiphany.
Ooh.
Interesting. Okay, so we're going purely for invokes. And got the Crescent Strike, a stun for a stun.
Funny thing about the reason why they're running Starlit Epiphany in this list is entirely because you plant a bunch of shrooms in your deck with some monument. But then suddenly, if your deck is replaced by, 20 copies of Behold the Infinite, suddenly you don't have that problem of drawing shrooms every round now. And that is powerful. That is pretty darn good. Samsans is going to go for the double swing here, inviting Geo to block, decides not to, knowing that they're pretty decently far ahead now.
Oh man. There we go, another invoke coin. We can get our own Immortal Fire. Written the Stars or the Messenger. Like, neither player right now has their landmark removal, so if the subworks comes down, it's a wrap. Mind you, right, Geo has already played the Starlit Epiphany, so we can't really do that whole trick that you mentioned with getting rid of the shrooms. We actually can't do it at all now that our deck's replaced. We've completely locked out of our original deck.
That'll be...
Supernova.
Both of these players are... I think that the decks are so identical right now that both players are looking for an opportunity for the other one to mess up. Because Geo has played Starlit Epiphany, right?
Ooh,
So, oh no. I know, I'm actually getting my stuff mixed up, so I'm watching both streams. There we go. Don't cross the streams. I learned that in Ghostbusters.
Don't cross the streets. Exactly.
Don't be crossing the stream.
Now,
you'll get yourself turned upside down.
Right, you mentioned Geo having already used Starlit Epiphany. Samsans has not yet used Starlit Epiphany. I feel like at that point, once you commit Starlit Epiphany, Sumpworks is kind of dangerous to play. Like, sure, it saves you, but now with less cards being in your deck, you're more likely to draw into those shrooms.
Yeah, that's entirely if you're worried about getting hit with enough damage for that to matter. Stun going onto the clock link to remove that blocker as well. Samsans does get to punch in for a bit of damage, but...
Interesting. Not going to go for the open swing.
I guess you don't really need to, right? Because you already have spell shields, so you're not worried about getting stunned right away. Instead, some monument is played.
Ooh.
Samsans swing for a lot of damage. Geo says, all right, bet. I dare you. Hit me.
Ooh, Living Legends. Yep, picked it.
That's pretty scary. All these cards being reduced in cost significantly more now, thanks to Living Legends.
At this point, yep, here it comes. A 22-8.
Huh. Well, we respond with your own 12-8. How does that sound?
I'm not sure if we can cover him there, but we may have.
Samson has a train to catch. That's how fast he's playing.
Is this worse than Karma?
I don't know. In this matchup of mirrors...
Supernova into Mystic Child. Continue, guy.
In this matchup of mirrors, this might be worse than Karma Mirrors, I will say.
I honestly think so. Because this is ridiculous. Like, if your opponent, like, gets Living Legends, it feels like a wrap. Right? They suddenly they refill their entire hand, refill their mana. Yep, there goes the GG.
Yep, okay. The Aphelios being on board for the stun. The double Cosmic Call, the Living Legends find. Everything that could have gone right went right. And I think that the reason why that's so much worse than a Karma set mirror is because the the margins of error aren't necessarily reliant on you playing spells incorrectly or in the wrong order or not saving a Hex Obliterator for when a set comes down kind of thing. It's more in the sense of, oh, did you find this specific Celestial card to beat my specific Celestial cards? Oh, you did? Oh, okay. Well, I guess I'll just have to wait for the next cycle to come around. And it's really just a matter... Yeah, because, like, what you saw at the end of the match for Samsans there was he was able to play Supernova and Mystic Shot to remove the final Lucid blocker and also had the Aphelios on board for the stun. And that is more... to me, in my eyes, and I don't mean to detract from Samsans' win here at all, but in my eyes, that's more of a, oh, did I find the right Celestial cards first versus, yeah, like I'm just repeating myself, but versus finding the right sequence of spells to stave off lethal for as long as possible.
Like, I guess if I'm kind of like, I haven't played that matchup in particular, but like if I'm trying to like imagine, okay, how would a mirror match with Targon work? It kind of does seem like that. It's like, okay, who's getting their invokes? What are you getting on your invoke and what are you preparing for, right? Because mind you, a lot of the invoke units are already coming out with spell shields. So now the early game damage that you would, the early game pings that you would normally save for, like, let's say, oh, I want to take out a small unit where I want to go with the face, suddenly needs to be a deactivator for spell shield. That way you can finally get off your big Celestial obliterate cards through. Because if you don't, then it's like, ooh, okay, now I have to worry about matching. And then at that rate, now you got to really make sure that you're paying attention to your mana. Because if you go even just 1 mana below playing a unit, you're suddenly, okay, I'm knocked out. I am suddenly dealing with, you know, a 12 damage Celestial Beast. It's like, ooh, I don't have Hush. I don't have anything to deal with. And I feel like another thing to note is, right, understanding when you're on the back foot and when you're not, right? I feel like in that matchup, would you play it more like a control deck, that mirror match, trying to allow your opponent to like play into you rather than reverse? I mean, I guess it's always situational when you have to do that, because sometimes there are situations where you're like, okay, I'm going to allow my opponent to, you know, kind of rock out and I'll just respond to whatever they do. And then others where you're like, I do need to take, you know, proactive measure to do X thing. Right? In this case, I'm assuming that both players ended up getting the call on turn 5, and at that rate, okay, we skip turn, then I play myself, so you play yourself, still we trade off. But I don't know, it's tricky. I think what maybe extended that game was the fact that they were both running Aphelios, right? I think Aphelios offers a lot of utility, especially with that stun. That stun is so good.
So good.
And I think it's probably possibly even more valuable than, let's say, maybe a Samira Zoe. Like Samira, all in all, like very powerful champion, but if you're able to interact with your opponent's board, and it's suddenly like, ooh, oh, maybe this rally ain't too good if someone's stunned. It's just a tricky situation.
I think one of the things that Aphelios brings to the table that Samira does not is the fact that they don't have to go into combat. Combat, when you're going into combat with any of your units on attack, with a Samira, with a Challenger effect, there is a possibility of quicksand, there's a possibility of a stun, there's a possibility of fast speed removal and everything. But when this unit is on the backline and continually generating new value, it has less opportunities for your opponent to remove it from the board. And even though Samira is, I think, is probably the strongest champion in the game right now, bar none, there are ways where, for this Invoke deck, with the Piltover and Zon variant, that Aphelios is stronger. And also not to mention that Aphelios' moon weapons are considered creative weapons, so that also always expedites your Victor level up on top of that. So there's a lot of things to be said there. And in terms of the control argument in that mirror matchup, the problem with trying to play like a control matchup is that Aphelios Victor, this variant specifically, is not well equipped to be a control deck. It is just trying to play, it's trying to stall the game a little bit, which I guess would be the definition of control, but that's more like Cosmic Youngling and maybe a Mystic Shot here and there. It's not, I'm going to play a Ruination, I'm going to play a Vengeance or anything that, or a Vile Feast, or all these weird kind of tricks like Hate Spike and stuff to keep the board intact. I think it's more just, I need to lay this thing right now so that I can play my big combo pieces. That's where I think the discrepancy comes in, and where I don't think you can play like a control deck, because it's not built to be one.
Yeah. No, it makes perfect sense. It makes sense. Having knowledge on, I think if anyone's going to be scrimming, and they're definitely considering bringing Invoke, something important would be to play the mirror match, given that people can, technically speaking, bring triple Invoke, so you should know how to fight it back, because I guarantee that's going to be a mirror match. If you're bringing Invoke, you're most definitely going to come across it. There's no way you're not. If you don't, you are one lucky SOB to not have to deal with that mirror match. But I feel like that match in particular, and then understanding how timelines, maybe you don't even need to understand timelines. Maybe timelines is just always a ban. But meanwhile, like, triple timelines did exist at one point, and it, I guess, technically does still exist, right? You can go what can you go? No, because both ran Piltover. How were people playing triple timelines? What were the decks?
No, you can play triple timelines.
Bandle City, Piltover, and then what else?
Because it's Bandle City Piltover, then it's Jack's Vi with Piltover, and then it's Freljord Piltover for the last one. So you can do triple timelines.
Freljord Piltover. I haven't seen that one in a minute. That one doesn't really seem to have all that traction just yet.
It's not fast. It very much relies on playing the Ice Pillar on turn 8 and getting an 8-mana unit out. But why would you wait to get an 8-mana unit out when you can get one out on 5, when you can swing with Overwhelm Jax on turn 5 or 6?
Yeah.
And so I think that's where that kind of falls apart a little bit. Funny enough, Jack's Vi timeline's one of its worst matchups, and it doesn't have very many. is Trundlorn timelines, and that's because Buried in Ice. That is one of the key counters to it.
No, that makes perfect sense because for those of you that may not remember, Buried in Ice, that's the one with the landmarks. No, Buried in Ice. Excuse me. There's Buried in Ice, and there's Trundle Spell.
No, you're right. You're thinking Icequake is the one for him.
Icequake is the other one. Okay, so Buried in Ice, but that's the one that like turns it obliterates everything, puts it into the landmark, right?
Yep.
Okay. And then when anything's obliterated, say goodbye to your equipment, you suddenly don't have it anymore. And now the power that these units may have had suddenly gone, and they have to kind of just have their base stats. But no, that makes sense. I was gonna bring it if Ed was gonna take that into consideration. Hey, I'm most likely gonna be fighting Jax-Fi. Maybe I should really consider, a separate mid-range deck that also is running the Timelines package, but hey, now I can actually interact with other Timelines decks and get them off the field. And here we go, we have Fsh Ace versus samsans. If I'm not mistaken, guy, we made it to the end. This is finals, baby.
Damn, we blitzed through this. This was... we saw a lot of aggro and a lot of Noxus in the lineups going up here, and I'm kind of... I like seeing aggro played out because I don't play it enough. And I think that seeing good players actually play the deck is very fascinating because there's a level of resource management that goes into playing aggro that I feel goes very underappreciated overall.
Yeah.
But I'm happy that I'm not seeing aggro at this final juncture here because it gives me hope for this open coming this weekend in the sense that I'm probably not going to be running into a lot of triple aggro. I'm probably not going to be seeing it all that much. Instead, we'll be seeing these Invoke lists. We'll be seeing this Thresh Nasus that Ace is bringing. And we'll most definitely be seeing timelines. I am tempted to bring triple timelines just to make everyone's day miserable, but that's also...
Why? Everyone have a bad day. Listen, careful what you wish for, because you go bring timelines and then suddenly someone's bringing a triple Demacia light, but you're like, damn it!
I should have... No, actually, triple Demacia, you'd beat with triple timelines. That's the funny thing.
That actually is funny. Now...
But you'd not beat with the decks that I like to bring. Anyway, continue your spiel here.
Listen, we have Nasus Thresh versus Samira Zoe. Right now, we don't have the Invoke cards we have. We have Sunburst, we have Falling Star. We don't really want to trade into anything. Like, that's the awkward thing, right? You don't want to start leveling up the Nasus. Right here, Blighted Caretaker. So good, gonna be able to force trades. Boom, boom, look at that.
Ace just swings at everything else because these are X ones all across the board. Now, the thing about this swing is you are getting 4 stacks from Nasus now on this turn. But because the Blighted Caretaker was played while samsans still had full mana and passed on it too, they're able to play the Zoe now. Hate Spike is going to make it so that Zoe doesn't stick on board, but a bit of well, I guess it's a bit of a later trade, something that you would rather have remove that in one fell swoop, so it does kind of delay things a little bit. Pale Cascade trying to look for other options.
Oh, well, we found Zoe.
Oh, you found Zoe. Well, that's... You know what? That works out.
Ooh, regeneration. Wow. Like, Ace has just basically made samsans blitz through their hand. Went for the swing rather than going for the Samira.
Made samsans blitz through their hand, and most notably without a champion on board. samsans has champions that like to see a lot of cards being played, and if you don't have a lot of cards to play, then that's just not going to end well for you.
I think from samsans point of view, I would have liked to have played the Samira before the swing, just so we can start chipping away at some of these other units, right? Because we have 2-3 HP units on field. We only have 1 unit that's going to be able to deal with it. 2 if we take the Trickster right here. We took
Serpent.
We have Serpent and Crescent Strike. Oh, are we committing this? Wow. Okay, crumble onto the Zoe. Knowing that samsans cannot do anything about this.
Flair's going to take out the Blighted Caretaker but or could take out the Blood Caretaker there, but it's not quite enough. Fsh Ace is a very short hand, though.
Mm-hmm. Very, with absolutely no draw. Ooh, offers the pass. See, here's the thing. Ace could play the other units so they can go a little bit wider. Really takes the pass.
That is... Wow. That is such a tough pass to take. Because Ace, yes, Ace does have a decent board, right? Like, if you think about this logistically, you have an okay board. You could have played the Last Wind and killed the Cursed Keeper to get another Escaped Abomination on board, and swung with all these three health. But it's another pass. Samsans knows that they just have to stall out long enough for them to be able to play into one of their late game cards, their Cosmic Calls, maybe even get the Fangs with an Evoke on board. Ace instead decides to go for the Zolani, and it's going to be a Crescent Strike to deny two of these units from swinging, notably the Bakai Reaper and the Zolani herself. And yes, you do get the two trades here, but you've denied so much damage and held this game off for a lot longer. And Ace playing the Zolani there, while it was the best option, considering the hand that was available, another Crescent Strike available.
I don't know if we're ever going to be able to get that second Crescent Strike off.
Maybe. Maybe not.
Ooh, we ended up going for the Charger.
Oh, sure. You want more units? Yeah. That's fair. You want to be able to block for as long as physically possible.
Passes. Like, we have Star Shaping. Like, what makes... Yeah, the passes, right? You're going to say it. The passes... Listen, these passes...
You're sending me, dude. These are great.
Okay, we're pulling. We'll probably commit the Pale Cascade to take out one of these units. Yep, there we go.
Forced to.
Now, I don't think we would commit the Atrocity here.
No problem.
Not at all. Like now, the awkward thing is, even though, yes, we have Atrocity in hand, we still have to respect the fact that Samsans could have Hush. And if anything, it might be better just to wait for the Gnosis to come through and get Spell Shield on that unit.
And Ace has not been able to apply enough pressure to make that Star Shaping mean nothing. Also, hey, Living Legends is in hand, as well as the third Samira. It's a pretty good swing from Ace, trying to get that damage in so that the Atrocity can count for something. But you know what you could honestly do if you want to prevent as much damage as possible? Well, no, this is... You can block there, and then block with the Mountain Scryer onto the Zolani, and use the Sunblessed Vigor to take only one damage this turn. It's a terrible trade, but that is the way that Samsans' hand prevents the most damage with the least amount of cards. So do you respect the Atrocity, or you just say, all right, let it fly. I'm ready.
Currently at 11. As long as we're never dipping below 8. At least with these two units on field, because it's a different story once they come out. Go ahead and silence. Okay, this is good. This is good. We Sunburst here. Because Zolani has attack, we now get to Fallen Star, and it will kill the Zolani. Because this silence is going to be permanent for the rest of the round until we move on to the next round. There goes the Atrocity.
And yeah, and the silence would have taken away the last breath effect from Zolani there, so you wouldn't have been able to replay her the following turn. That overwhelm damage not able to stick quite as long. But Samira's leveled up now. So while Samsans may be on 4 HP, they've got at least one problem for Ace to deal with on board. Vengeance is available. Not anymore.
Has Samsans stalled out enough? We got rid of the Zolani temporarily, of course. Oh, top deck Gnosis.
Big dog.
Just a little something I like to call fun.
That Sunburst from last turn might be the nail in the coffin here.
Possibly. The only thing that I would say that gives samsans a chance to still interact with the Nasus or even the Zolani is the fact that we have living legends, and we could potentially find a obliteration spell off of it.
That will be a problem. Living legends to refill mana gives all the celestials at a reduced cost.
So they say.
Look at that.
Oh boy. That is a big great beyond. 14 attack? Yeesh. You can also block Nasus with that, funny enough. Vengeance is down, but
Like this.
Samsans' stocks possibly up?
I mean, because here's the deal: we have 2 more Samiras in hand. The rally is useless since we haven't attacked yet.
Don't ask for permission or forgiveness.
The only thing is just now that our opponents use Atrocity in Ace's deck, we only have Atrocity as a 2 of, so we have to still worry about 1 more potentially.
The mortals know what awaits them.
Says the big dog. 19 attack. That could just kill your Nexus almost immediately. And I like the idea of pulling the Bakai Reaper out of the way here too. Because you don't want to force yourself to block more fearsomes than is necessary. It's because you have Nasus swinging in, so...
Oh, it's the second Atrocity!
Second Atro! Oh no! And Fish is swinging here so that they can get the spell shield to prevent any sort of removal now.
Wow.
So even if Samsans had a Sunburst in hand, that is negated by the Nasus level up now. And the second Atro should be enough to counteract it.
Yeah, it would be. Like the hand now with spell shield, it has to be double hush, or we simply had to have used that on an earlier either save our Sunburst or drew into another one. Like the silence is really the only thing that's gonna be able to deal with this nonsense. Now, mind you, I don't think I fault samsans for playing it on the Zolani, right? That was the immediate threat to us in that moment.
Yeah, and it been so many churns. I think samsans had the correct read there that there wasn't an Nasus in hand, and there truly wasn't until it was top deck there. But double Atro is just brutal. Oh, that's not a card you want to see 2 times in a row there. Well,
Yeah, I like to play. Like it's tricky, right? Because you could have saved the living legends so that you can use it to obliterate a Nasus that comes down. But at the same time, it's like, okay, how long do I delay before I need to start turning on my own game plan, right? I have my Celestials. I played plenty. The Celestial that I put down is gonna have a lot of damage. I need to start winning this game rather than just kind of playing on the back foot and just waiting for the threats to come out. It's tough.
I'm so concerned about Ace getting timelines in so often.
What is the third deck that is being banned?
Is Warden of the Tribes with Elise Nar really that bad?
I mean, is it
that terrifying?
It's another Atrocity deck, right? So we already have to deal with that. And then on top of that, you have access to some of the control tools to deal with some early game units. But even so, it has Overwhelm, Glacial Sumerian, Ancient Yeti, Warden of the Tribes, Innovative Blacksmith if you get the Overwhelm, Gnar after you've hit the Nexus, right? And then also Fearsome. It's a strong deck. And the moment I feel like that you put Warden of the Tribes, especially if you already have units on field, they're going to be big. They're getting +6 on everything all around. And even if, let's say, you're playing an Invoke deck and you have that Celestial unit that has plenty of damage, it's only 1 unit, right? You're not really going to be able to spam as many units as, let's say, an aggro deck, or I mean, even the Warden of the Tribes variant, because they're playing to that game plan, kind of similar to the champion strength game plan with Demacia. It's strong. I'm not surprised that it's banned. And I think it's a pretty potent lineup if you're bringing that along with the timelines variant.
Okay. Well, you've convinced me to get off of triple timelines.
Listen, play it. Like it feels like a mid-range deck, and like it has some interaction. But it at least how I've played it feels like champion strength.
champion strength, but you don't have the. Ugh, I was struggling over strength for some reason there. But champion strength, but you don't have the burden of playing Demacia. I think that's a win-win.
Oh, this is vicious. Fuzzy care. Didn't Fuzzy Caretaker like do something last tournament? It was an exact card. It was that exact freaking card.
There was some unit, I can't remember what it was, but there was some unit that had either elusive or overwhelm. And samsans missed allegiance.
Ah, Samira on top.
Wow. That is not ideal. Look at this damage spread as well. Everything hitting for 5 attacks, so you have to really manage your blocks here. Going down to 3 HP is not exactly an option, but going down to 8 is also a bit of a problem. It's terrifying territory to be in. Now, Ace considering using possibly this spear, because I believe the Zonite Urchin will also have the ability to discard the shadow there, but no, going for the double block, trying to preserve as much HP as physically possible. That's why samsans actually might be considering the fearsome blocker and not the one with overwhelm, because you save 1 more HP by blocking into that unit there. Actually goes with the Zoe block. Do not care about leveling this champion because you don't want to get burnt out. That is,
Man.
wow. That Samira hit. Not good.
No need to make a name for myself. Just an impression.
Not good.
We're not going to be able to interact with the board just yet. Like, I think, like, and then with this kind of, with Invoke, you don't really have any ways to buff Samira aside from Pale Cascade. Or what? I think Sparkologist can give Samira, I think, what, 2/2?
1/1.
1/1?
Yeah, we saw her earlier when she was already leveled with the Sparkologist.
Oh man, the Ice Veil Cultist.
Okay.
It gives everything a disequip overwhelm.
The messenger believes it chases the trickster.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
This is kind of convinced me to play Timelines, I'm not gonna lie.
This is turn 5. Like, this is a turn 5 board that we're looking at here. Samira does get the Challenger effect, and Pale Cascade will be pulling another card out of the way, and you can actually kill that Stormcloud, so you don't have to worry about that impact damage. Plus, you get another Flare in hand, and you have a lot of other burst spells available for samsans.
Here we go.
Which does mean you can level Samira, but
Yep, that's
nope.
it.
That's it. That's the end of the tournament.
Ace takes it.
Ace takes it again.
With
I think with the exact
Timelines.
same lineup. At least Champless Timelines and Nasus Thresh was what we saw in the Mastering Runeterra Open the other day. But the lineup's strong. The play. Oh, I closed out. Okay, I'm just a dark square. Goodbye. I'm sorry, I closed the wrong tab.
Come back.
No, come back. Listen, I'm just a. You only need my voice. You know what? First time on the broadcast and also last time on the broadcast, completely messed up the overlay. All right, hold on, I'm coming back. Don't worry, I have only done a little see how I disappeared. Where did I go? A little magic trick. And am I back? I don't know if I'm back.
No, you're not back yet.
I'm back on the high. Hello.
But continue with what you were saying, like timelines.
Timelines. It's it is a deck. It is definitely one of the decks of time. One of the it just does things. I don't think that there's a whole lot that you can really explain what Legends like what it does in Legends of Runeterra, because it doesn't do anything reasonable. It's like, yeah, I play this card. Oh, hey, I'm back. Hi. But hey, I play this card that lets me transform into any unit of equivalent cost. So what are the ramifications of that? Who knows? There are so many cards in the game right now that
Especially
can be of equivalent cost, especially in Eternal, that you can hit. So you see that 5 mana Risu, which is like a 1/1 that summons the 7/3 Stormcloud. But then you get a 5/5 that gives all of your equipped allies overwhelm. That is ridiculous. How do I explain that is a good logical step for the card game to take. He's like, oh yeah, no, I saw that coming. Like I totally saw them hitting Iceville Cultist off of that. Or I've seen what was another one?
I
Like
mean, shoot, I think it's great Fuzzy Caretaker because Fuzzy Caretaker has carried 2 tournaments so far.
Yeah, it
Last
has.
tournament came through, added just the extra nick of damage someone needed. Oh my gosh, it's Ace.
It's a little dumb.
If this is gonna be your lineup, it seems like a good lineup. It really does. Seems incredibly powerful. It does what it does well.
Yeah. I'm gonna look online to see, because I know that good old Santupi, who is one of the greats of Legends of Runeterra community, always works behind the scenes and but reports on every single tournament that happens just about anywhere in Legends of Runeterra, and is a wonderful resource. I saw that he also posted about what Ace was bringing to the Mastering Runeterra tournament, and Ace brought, right, that's what the difference was. So Ace did bring Thresh, Nasus, and Chantless Timelines, but their third deck, instead of being this Elise Gnar combo, which I'm guessing is what they're trying to figure out right now, is getting their third deck underway. Their third deck this time around was Annie, Nora, Katarina, which is of course a broad main deck.
Yeah.
So it's a bit of a control list. But I think that core that we saw in the Thresh, Nasus and the Champless Timelines is extremely strong. Because we never saw Warden of the Tribes. It was banned almost every single match.
Every single time.
And instead we saw those 2 decks, and they're still really good in the current format.
How do you even fight that? I don't even know how you fight it. Definitely be prepared to fight it all. Very good games from all of our players. GG to Fsh Ace for becoming one of the Lancers champions. GG to samsans for making it all the way to 2nd place. It's not an easy road in these single elimination tournaments. It's to the wire, because the moment you lose, bam, you're out. Gotta really make sure that you're playing your decks. But hey, it's a learning experience and it's a whole lot of fun. This tournament is gonna be the last tournament for about a week. We're gonna come back, I want to say, on September 14th. So September 7th, next Thursday, we will not be having a tournament. Nonetheless, we'll be coming back. How we're gonna see just exactly what your lineups are for the Open. We're gonna see what deck wins it all. Because I'm curious. My prediction is I do believe Timelines is gonna be at the very end, based on what I've seen today and what I have been seeing on ladder. Timelines definitely seem it's gonna be possibly one of the winning decks. But we'll just
Timelines. We might see some Samira list in there somewhere. I don't know if that's Invoke or Action or even Fizz. Depending on what kind of works out there. But I think that'll be at the core of what we see most frequently, for sure.
Absolutely.
And are we sponsored again today? I'm not sure.
Are we sponsored? We most definitely are sponsored. We're sponsored by Community Gaming this tournament. They've sponsored the last 3 tournaments that we had. Remember, Eternal 5, 6, and 7. Very happy to have them a part of this. We're so grateful. It's been fun. We like us getting involved in the community, getting some sponsorships. It's a whole blast. But thank y'all all for coming. Remember, September 14th, take a look at the deck list, see what lineups you might like, and good luck to all of you. Catch you next time.
And to all the Americans out there, enjoy the long weekend as well for Labor Day.
True, we do have a long weekend.
That'll be a great time.
I'm taking a long nap.
Same here, but yeah, y'all have a great evening. Thanks for having me on again.
Peace.